Hello, welcome back to Black Book Stacks. I am your host, Hoshana Sanders, and I'm going to talk to you about Before the Ever After by Jacqueline Woodson. But before I do that, I want to just say thank you so much for the subscriptions and for the likes and the shares. I have 200 subscribers now, so that's super exciting. That's more bookish people than I expected ever to have on my platform for some reason. So I'm super excited about it. Thank you so much for the reception and for your comments. They've just been really exciting to see. And whenever I'm not here uploading videos and talking to you about whatever I've been reading, I've been just reading. So I'm excited to bring you another review of sorts. Before the Ever After, first of all, can we just appreciate like this beautiful cover? As soon as I saw it, I was like, that is just such classic, Jacqueline Woodson, who, is someone I consider to be a mentor, mostly in my mind. I had an opportunity to interview Jacqueline for Kirkus a couple years ago now, and that was the year that Harbor Me and The Day You Begin came out. Feels like it was just yesterday, actually. And I learned so much about Jacqueline that I guess, before Brown Girl Dreaming, I was one of those readers, I'll have to admit, that just hadn't been exposed to much of her work. But she's written dozens and dozens of books, a lot of them for young readers, but some of them for adults, like Red at the Bone, which I reviewed for Time last year, 2019. Jacqueline is just prolific, and also just like one of the kindest, most generous literary citizens in the children's book space, but just in general, like in authorship. I believe that she is a model of how to be most human and generous, while also being really creative and disciplined and focused on your work and the work that you have to do in the world. So I was excited to read this. It is the beautiful story it is a middle grade novel in verse. It is the story of this little guy up here, Zechariah. I hope I'm saying his name right, but he goes by ZJ. And ZJ is concerned because now his father, who is a famous football player, or was a famous football player, is beginning to have symptoms related to traumatic brain injuries as a result of his football playing. And so we begin to see that manifest in the way that his father acts, the way that, ZJ's mom sort of worries and reacts, and, just the relationships that I think especially probably young boys have with their fathers. Obviously, I wouldn't know that, but, it's conveyed really well in the book that he has, a certain kind of relationship and dynamic and conversations with his father before the TBI basically kicks in. And now, he's just started to notice the ways in which his father is different. I really love the epigraph for this book, or the dedication, I guess I should say, which says, for Tashi Reagan and everyone else, whoever once loved the game. Sorry. Guess it's just confirmation that it's a roaring read. I have always had a strange relationship with football, is what I'll say. Like it took me a long time to figure it out. I will be completely transparent about that. Like I know it's probably like super intuitive for people who play sports or who like are regular fans, but I'm a narrative driven human. So I like stories. So I was always interested in the stories of people like Michael Vick, or yeah, just the narratives of players like Brett Favre, as infuriating as he was, fascinated me as like a narrative. And it's because we look up to especially sports figures as these avatars of the heroic American experience. And so I was just always curious about that as a younger woman, and even, to this day, I'm super fascinated by the stories that we tell about how these players become the people that they are. I mean, we see it even, looking at, I know most sports fans, and even I a little bit, am missing, seeing live games. So I think that's part of the reason why like a film like The Last Dance has become so popular, because now we get to just like see kind of behind the scenes of Michael Jordan and the Bulls at their prime, and like kind of what made them tick and what makes them great. And I think that's really at the heart and the essence of what makes me so curious about the hero narrative that we have about athletes. But we, of course, rarely ever think about that from the perspective of a child who then has to deal with not just living in the shadow of fame, because I think we have seen that story, but here and before the ever after, what we're dealing with is starting to see the shadow side, the dark side of, okay, well, in public, for many years you have lived this story, this heroism, and now you actually have to be, now it's no longer a thing, right? Like we may love the game, but the game can be damaging and probably fatal, right? Like, and even if it doesn't like kill you physically, there's a soul killing, there's a way that it damages your mental body so that you are no longer the person that you were. And I think it's heavy stuff. I think it's heavy stuff for adults. I definitely think that it's probably pretty heavy even for kids. But at the end of the day, it's a reality, right? Is that there are things that transform you. There are sacrifices that we willingly make for whatever reason, right? It may be for money, it may be for fame, it may be for all of those things, but also just because we love the things that we do, even when you know that they have these steep consequences. And so what we see in this novel is a little boy really trying to sort through all of that. Like, how do you deal with the consequences of something that you love so much, something that defines the identity of your father, and therefore, to some extent, you really shapes who you are and who you've become, or you could become, and really alters your life. So it is a very slim book. It is about, I want to say, it's 157 pages, 160-ish pages. And I've talked about it in the context of traumatic brain injuries, but this is actually chronic traumatic encephalopathy. You know what I'm saying? CTE. It's just a brain disease that affects boxers and also football players, and it's no cure. There's no cure for it, but people can get help now in ways that they weren't able to before. So anyway, that's noted in the afterword. What I love about it is that, I think that, and I've always said this, especially as someone who writes children's books now, that there is a way in which we don't realize how much children see. They experience and witness and take in much more than we give them credit for. And what I think most love and enjoy about reading Jacqueline Woodson's work is that she treats them with, I think, the dignity and respect as these sponges of the human experiences that they are. And that tenderness and that vulnerability comes across in her writing, and it can be deeply moving, and yeah, just really informative and striking, to witness on the page. So that is Before the Ever After. I hope you'll check it out. If you are a fan of Jacqueline Woodson's work, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear and see what you think. The book comes out September 1st. So definitely feel free to pre-order it. You can pre-order it from my bookshop link, which is down below. You can obviously order it from wherever books are sold. And yeah, definitely curious to hear what you think about it, if you've read it, if you're planning to read it, and anything else that you'd like to weigh in on. That's what I have for you. I will let you know the next time I have a book that I've read that I think is compelling enough to review, and looking forward to seeing you again soon.